Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to you and welcome to you from Imola for the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Racing, and it is race one for Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell about to get underway here. The calendar, as you can see, we reached the conclusion of very nearly. We're second to last round. Having done Valencia, Monza, Budapest, Le Castellet, Silverstone, we find ourselves in Imola before, at the end of the month, the glittering World Finals, the finale mondiale to come at Mugello. All the details at races.ferrari.com. Autodromo di Imola here in Imola in Italy. And there you can see our location on the map before we move. Not very many kilometers, truthfully, between here and Mugello. A phenomenal place this is, 4.9 kilometer circuit. It is 16 turns, 9 of them left-handers, 6 of them are right-handers, and it is a circuit that has really challenged our drivers during qualifying today. That was certainly the case with the Coppa Shell drivers that we'll see on track in just a few moments from now. Air temperature is a really rather pleasant 20 degrees, and as you can see, some harmless high cloud in that blue sky. Yesterday we had an absolute deluge of rain, which has had consequences for the track today, especially in qualifying. Parts of the track were damp, and not only were parts of the track damp, but if you went offline, it was an absolute nightmare. And Johnny Lawson found that out, leading the championship, and significant work has had to be done on the Johnny Lawson car to get it back out on track again. But it is there, and he takes his position P2 on the grid. Beating him to pole position once again, Henry Hassid, who goes from P1. Fabienne Volvend is going from P3. She raced in the Ferrari Challenge at Monza and returns. Lady racer going from P3 on the grid. James Wayland, a very good qualifying from him, going from P4. Then a pair of Ghostners, Thomas, dad, Manuela, daughter, going from P5 and P6 on the grid. Then we find Murat Kuhadaroglu and Eric Prinot with Vladimir Hladik. Christian Kinch, Fons Skeltemar and Tadasuke Kojima goes from P12 on the grid. Before we find Tommy Lindroth, Laurent Demus, Henrik Kamstrup, Eric Chung, David Lim and Tina Koch then rounding out those rows before we find Claudio Schiavone, Christoph Herney, another one that had an off during qualifying, and Ingvar Matson. So there is the pole-sitting car and the pole-sitting driver from the Charles Pozzi team, Henry Hassid, who has in the Ferrari Challenge been something of a star, having taken 5 wins in the 6 races that he's competed in thus far this season. Henry Hassid, of course, a very experienced racing driver, that's for sure, as is Johnny Lawson alongside him. But he has had the edge. So there is James Wayland then, who has been involved in the Ferrari Challenge for a number of years. Not only has he racing here in Europe, but has raced in North America as well. And there is Fabienne Volvend, who's going from P3 on the grid. The lady racer who took a P5 in race 1 at Monza. Sadly, race 2 was a DNF, but Fabienne then going from P3 on the grid here for this Coppa Shell race, and looked phenomenal during both free practices and qualifying as well. Manuela Ghostner is the second fastest of the lady racers, going from P6 on the grid. So Manuela Ghostner, who we've seen on the podium a lot as the winner of the Ladies' Cup race, which is integrated into the Coppa Shell. That position may be taken by Fabienne Volvend today. We will see at the end of the 30-minute race duration. So 5 minutes away then from the formation lap. And here for race 1 in Coppa Shell. The drivers qualifying earlier on today, which sees Hassid, Lawson, Volvend and Wayland across the first 2 rows of the grid. Eric Prinot then, the gentleman racer, going from P8 on the grid. Eric Prinot has been in the Ferrari Challenge for many, many years and still enjoying it just as much today, and that's great to see. Okay, we're at Imola then, in Italy, for this round. A snapshot of the circuit and the area itself. The circuit here very much carved out of the topography of the land. And there is Jens Liebhauser, who is one of the AM drivers in Trofeo Pirelli Pro, who was down there with Christian Kinch. Christian Kinch there in the back to guard car, going from P10 on the grid. So, as I mentioned then, the circuit very much carved out of the topography of the land. It's undulating and it's very challenging indeed.
Hi, my name is Manuela Gostner from Italy. I'm 32 years old and this is my third season in Ferrari Challenge. My team is Sineku and P Racing from Massimo Pepe, and my teammates are my dad, Thomas Gostner, and Eric Prinot, and I'm working together with my coach, Edoardo Serragiotta. We have an awesome team. The mood in our team is very friendly and very familiar, and we are great friends and having a lot of fun together on the tracks in Europe. Ferrari Challenge for me is one of the most glamorous and competitive series in this world. It's very difficult to find the atmosphere here in other places. It's very special, and to race with Ferrari is a great honor. Ferrari Challenge is a great school to learn and improve your driving. The 488 is a very powerful car, and if you're going to do other GT activities, you will be perfectly prepared for everything. I'm very looking forward to the new calendar in 2018. There will be a lot of special tracks, a lot of historic tracks like Silverstone, like Spa, and we go to Barcelona, and we have a night race at Misano, which is very special, and it's the first time to do that. And it's for sure a great season next year. Soon we will be at Mugello for the great finishing event, the Finali Mondiali, which is the biggest and the most special event of the season. But now we are enjoying Ferrari Challenge at Imola. Emozioni Ferrari.
Great to hear from Manuela then. Emozioni Ferrari. It's a well used phrase here in the Ferrari Challenge, that's for sure. So, Manuela Gostner then. So, stand by then. We have a 30-minute race to come for the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell drivers who are on the grid. So the scene is set. Pulses are poised. Henry Hassie then going from pole position. Johnny Lawson alongside.
My name is Fabienne Wolvend. I'm 19 years old and I'm driving for the Team Octane 126 in the category Coppa Shell. So keep your fingers crossed for car 101.
So Fabienne Volvend then is the driver that occupies that P3 position. P4 is James Wayland. Cars are off on their formation lap then, always a rolling lap for the Ferrari Challenge as the Safety car, the Hublot safety car, will lead them around and will peel off, and then it will be the responsibility of Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson to control the pace of the rolling lap. All the social media at the top of the screen for you now. If you want to be an even bigger part of the Ferrari Challenge, then that's where you can find out all about it, all those social media at the top of the screen for you. So the cars make their way through this really rather beautiful Imola circuit, which is undulating. There's uphill sections, downhill sections, some challenging corners, some very challenging chicanes, that's for sure. And right at the back of the grid is the number 162 car of Christoph Herney, a very, very talented driver indeed, who was caught out by damp conditions on if you ran outside the track limits during qualifying earlier today. The Hublot safety car then driven by former Ferrari Challenge champion Beppe Schianetti, who will pick up the cars as they make their way around this Imola circuit. We're on board with Eric Chung then from Formula Racing. It was a poor qualifying by Eric's standards. He's only going from P16 on the grid. Expect him to cut a swathe through the pack like a hot knife through butter as he tries to make his way up the order. Looking back from Johnny Lawson at the Fabian Volvend car, and there in car number 145 is Laurent Demus, who at one point was in the top 3 of qualifying this morning, but it all came to a fraught fight to the finish as every driver got to the end of qualifying, having had the session suspended, needing to post the fastest time possible. And the man that did that by putting it on pole position, of course, Henry Hassid. So the cars go downhill now. The Hublot safety car has picked them up. And we set our sights towards the 30-minute race to come from the Ferrari Challenge at Coppa Shell. So the safety car will peel off. And stand by, we await the green lights, and the race will be on. And the lights go green then. Henry Hassid, Johnny Lawson. Can Fabian Volvend find herself in P2? Another brilliant start from Henry Hassid then, who converts that P1 pole position into P1 in the race as they all head into the first chicane then. And the cars making their way through that chicane. Does anyone run through the gravel? No, all the cars keeping on the tarmac, which is great to see. So it's Hassid from Johnny Lawson P2, Fabian Volvend is P3, then it's Manuela Gostner, David Gostner, around goes Murat Kuhadaroglu in the 133 car. Now, that car will be beached from there. It will not be able to come back for sure, almost. That's got to be a safety car, I would suggest. So whether Murat Kuhadaroglu was encouraged into that, we'll have to wait and see if there was contact from another car, and it was Vladimir Hladik that was right behind Murat Kuhadaroglu. We will see. We'll pick that up in replay, I'm sure. Fabian Volvend making her intentions felt on the back end of Johnny Lawson, and they're braking, and the brake discs really lighting up from James Wayland as he has to use some opposite lock to control that car sliding through the Variante Alta chicane. So there is Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson, Fabian Volvend. Then it's Manuela and Thomas Gostner ahead of von Skeltmar, who is running in P7 at the moment. So the cars make their way down now. Fair play to the marshalling team here, who have managed to recover that Murat Kuhadaroglu car very quickly indeed. And no need for a safety car. So very good work from them. So one lap in the book, and it's Henry Hassid that leads from Johnny Lawson, Fabian Volvend, Manuela Gostner, Thomas Gostner and James Wayland. So what can Volvend do to try and get past Johnny Lawson? It's going to be a big, big ask. And Henry Hassid just breaking away by a car length, I suppose. It's about 5/10 between Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson in P1 and P2. Manuela Gostner looking very, very feisty indeed in P4. So Hassid continuing to lead and untroubled really by Johnny Lawson. Johnny Lawson is the points leader. Henry Hassid is P2 in the points, but Henry Hassid needs Johnny Lawson to fall off the track to enable him to really get the points haul that he needs. And Johnny Lawson knows that if he can continue to bank big points, may not necessarily be race wins, that the championship is coming to him. So uphill they go now across the crest, and Henry Hassid then in the 147 car goes through the Variante Alta chicane then and heads down towards turn number 13 and 14. There's James Wayland, who's running in P6. Underneath the bridge they go before very, very heavy braking for turn number 14. The Ravazza turns, which are turns 14 and 15. There's von Skeltmar. P7, Vladimir Hladek is P8. It's Tadakazu Kojima, who is P9, and Eric Prinot rounding out the top 10. So, for the first time ever in the Ferrari Challenge, we've got lady racers that are running P3 and P4 in the race, because Fabian Volvend, of course, is P3, and P4 is Manuela Gosner. Now, Johnny Lawson is really pushing Henry Hassid now. He's the quickest through the speed trap at 276 kilometers per hour. And all of a sudden, Henry Hassid is under some real pressure here. They've both broken away from Fabian Volvend significantly. And bear in mind that Manuela Gosner wants to be ahead of Fabian Volvend, because in that battle for P3, it's also the battle for the Ladies' Cup. As we mentioned, the two lady racers in P3 and P4, only one of those lady racers gets onto the podium by dint of where they score in the Ladies' Cup and who wins that Ladies' Cup race. And Manuela Gosner is chasing Fabian Volvend now, and so too at the front of the pack is Johnny Lawson chasing down Henry Hassid. So Johnny Lawson, who had an off in qualifying, is right on the back end of the Henry Hassid car. So as they round the final turn in that section of the circuit before heading underneath the bridge and going down towards turns 14 and 15, again under braking, Johnny Lawson just gets ever closer to Henry Hassid. It's all very well being as quick and finding a way past, which is not necessarily quite so easy, and Fabian Volvend brings herself back into this battle now. She, of course, will be racing in Hockenheim next weekend in Germany. Does a lot of racing, does Fabienne, and it's brilliant to see her back in the Ferrari Challenge. I mentioned at the beginning of the program, she made her debut in the Ferrari Challenge at Monza, and racing for the Octane 126 team. It's good to see her back, and looking back from the Johnny Lawson Formula Racing car at Fabienne Volvend. And again, Henry Hassid is not seemingly able to break away from Johnny Lawson. There's just 3/10 between the two of them. And whilst Lawson, of course, by banking P2, will bank crucial points for that championship, is a racing driver, and he wants to win. So as you can see on screen, 3/10 between P1 and P2, and Fabian Volvend back into that mix as well now. And incidentally, Fabian Volvend has set the fastest lap, as you can see on screen, from a lady, a 1:46.381. I'm pretty sure that that's the first time the fastest lap in the race has come from one of our lady racers. So well done, Fabian Volvend, who's breaking records here on the tarmac of the Imola circuit. She bounces her way through the curbs and takes all that she can. It's Hassid from Lawson, then it's Volvend. The two Gosners, Manuela leading Father Thomas in P4 and P5. Then it's von Skeltmar, Vladimir Hladek. Then it's Tadakazu Kojima, Eric Prinot, and Christian Kinch rounding out the top 10 at the moment. Eric Prinot was running in P9. One I said to keep an eye on is going to be Eric Chung, who's up to P11. And bear this in mind, from the back of the grid, Christoph Herney is in P12. And here comes Fabian Volvend. This is a 1:45.950, fastest lap now from Henry Hassid. who is now just beginning to break away a little bit from Johnny Lawson, because Johnny Lawson is not only trying to attack Henry Hassid, but he's also got to have a weather eye on the rearview mirror, and Fabian Volvend, who certainly isn't letting him rest for a moment. So this is playing into the hands a little bit of Henry Hassid, who's now been able to escape up the road a little bit by another 5/10, if you like, because the margin between the two of them across the last sector line was 8/10. So Hassid also setting the fastest lap, a 1:45.950. That's given him just that little bit of margin between himself and Johnny Lawson. Manuela Gosner is breaking away from her father Thomas in terms of race pace as well, and is certainly involved in this battle across the first 4 cars on track. So there is Hassid Lawson. Then it's Fabian Volvend in P3 and Manuela Gosner in P4. So it all remains unaltered at the top, as once again they make their way down through turn 13 before the heavy braking for turn number 14, the Ravazza turns. And this is Claudio Schiavone with David Lim, and Claudio Schiavone in the 102 car finds himself in P16 now, ahead of David Lim. So the turbocharged Ferrari 488 cars then pummeling their way around this 4.936 kilometer circuit, which features some 16 really challenging turns as it snakes its way through the really rather lovely countryside in this part of Italy. Johnny Lawson then looking back at the Fabian Volvend car. All the drivers know that they've got to try and keep the cars on the tarmac, because following the monsoon almost that we had yesterday afternoon, there are parts of the circuit which are still damp and slippery, and once you get onto those slippery parts, there's seemingly no coming back. So, as I mentioned, the big mover, as you can see from the indicators on the left-hand side, Christoph Herney, Tadakazu Kojima, and also Fons Skeltemar, 8, 5 and 5, the places that they've made up since the start of the race some 10 minutes ago. First 3 remain unaltered, as Fabian Volvend was just taking a look then at Johnny Lawson. So Johnny continuing to try and attack Henry Hassid, but also focusing on defending from Fabian Volvend behind as well. So Hassid then breaking into Ravazza 1. And now Manuela Gosner just a little bit closer to Fabian Volvend as well, for that almost separate battle that's going on to be the fastest of the females. Henry Hassid, Johnny Lawson, Fabian Volvend, then the top 3 before we see the all-green car of Manuela Gosner, and then Thomas Gosner behind. And once again, Fabian Volvend all over the back of the Johnny Lawson car. And this is Claudio Schiavone meaning business as he gets past Henrik Kamstrup. So Claudio Schiavone, another one that's making his way up the order as well, and finds himself now in P15, just behind Laurent Demus, who made his debut in Silverstone. Here comes Fabian Volvend. Whoa, I thought she was going to have a go then on Johnny Lawson. Johnny just making sure he puts the car exactly where he needs to avoid any potential for Fabian Volvend to come through, but she certainly does mean business and is not letting Johnny get away at all, which he's not playing into his plans really, because every time Johnny Lawson has to really defend, it means that Henry Hassid rubs his hands with invisible soap and gets up the road a little bit further. There's 4 or 5 car lengths between them now, and the reason for that is because Johnny Lawson is very much aware of that Octane 126 car right behind, which is being driven by Fabian Volvend as they fly the cars through the Variante Alta chicane. Absolutely great to watch. So on board we were with the Formula Racing driver Johnny Lawson, now into Ravazza once again, heavy braking. Fabian Volvend gets a little bit closer again to Johnny Lawson, all playing into the hands of Henry Hassid. It was 7/10 the margin between P1 and P2. It'll be more than that now as they cross the timing line. Yes, it's up to a second between Hassid and Lawson, and there you can see it's merely 2/10 between Fabian Volvend and Johnny Lawson. Fabian again going into the first chicane through Trigado and turn 3 and then Tamburello, trying to find a way past Johnny Lawson. They head up now towards turns 5 and 6, the Villeneuve turns, before then really slowing for the left-hander, which is the Tozer turn. So on board with Johnny Lawson once again, and the front end of the car compresses under braking as they go through the Tozer turn. Back on the power and begin climbing uphill towards turn number 8, which is Piratella. Long stretch before they get to the Piratella turn. They turn in and then start to roll downhill towards the Acqua Minerale, turns 9 and 10, which are really complicated turns to get absolutely right before once again climbing uphill towards the Variante Alta chicane. There is Henry Hassid, Johnny Lawson and Fabian Volvend, the three of them just pulling their way forward from Manuela Gostner. And now downhill once again underneath the bridge through turn 13 there, which is taken absolutely flat as the car continues to go downhill before the heavy braking through the Ravazza turns of turn 14 and 15. So as you can see, the top three are beginning to leave Manuela Gostner a little bit. So Johnny Lawson then and Fabian Volvend. Here comes the live gap between the two of them. It's just 4/10 between Johnny Lawson for Formula Racing and Fabienne Volvend for Octane 126. Henry Hassid a second to the good up the road, but a slight error there potentially from Johnny Lawson as the exit of that turn. And here comes Fabienne Volvend now trying to reel in the car ahead. And now Fabienne Volvend getting closer than before. It's going to be a long way around the outside, but if she gets better exit now and better traction going uphill, she could be on the inside of Johnny Lawson, but that will become the outside for the next turn, which isn't ideal, but Fabian Volvend is really going for it here, and Johnny Lawson is having to make his 488 as wide as possible to try and prevent the predatory Fabian Volvend from coming past. Fabian is definitely the quicker of the two of them at the moment. So up towards Variante Alta, the next chicane then. Here's Henry Hassid leading. And Johnny Lawson is ahead of Fabian Volvend in that battle for P2. It's been absolutely brilliant to watch. So the cars now underneath the bridge and down towards the Ravazza turns for another lap to be almost completed. And we're just half distance in terms of race duration. And Claudio Schiavone then, we saw him getting onto the back of the 145 car being driven by Laurent Demuze, and he does find his way past Laurent Demuze now. And Christophe Ernie, another one continuing to climb. He's past Eric Chung and into P11. 282 kilometers per hour is the top speed through the speed trap, and that has come from Fabienne Volvend, who is all over the back of Johnny Lawson. Johnny is really having to stick his elbows out and try and make that 488 slightly wider than it is, but Fabienne Volvend, despite being quicker, has not been able to find a way past, and truthfully she needs Johnny to make a mistake probably, and Johnny Lawson doesn't make too many of those. She tries to get to the inside as they climb uphill towards turn 11. Been great racing between the two of them here, that's for sure. So this battle for second position that is going on between Johnny Lawson and Fabienne Volvend. So now they climb uphill towards the Variante Alta then, turns 11 and 12. There's Henry Hassid, our race leader, the front of the car really bowing down under compression as the brakes are applied. Same too for Johnny Lawson and Fabienne Volvend. And now the long run downhill towards the Ravazza turns once again. And Fabian Volvend and Johnny Lawson's brake discs at the front of the car light up and scream under protest from the pressure that's put through. Johnny Lawson ran a bit wide on the exit of Ravazza. Is that going to open up an opportunity now to Fabian Volvend? He makes the car wide, but Fabian Volvend may dive to the inside now. She's closer than she's been at any point in the race. This is the battle for P2 going on. And Johnny Lawson carries too much speed. That's just what Fabian needs. He comes back out onto track. So Fabian Volvend, after pressure, has kept the pressure on to Johnny Lawson and finds herself elevated into P2. So Henry Hassid is leading from Fabian Volvend, who's now P2. Johnny Lawson is P3 ahead of Manuela Gosner. And Manuela Gosner and Thomas Gosner very close to Johnny Lawson now. And that mistake, as Manuela Gosner makes a mistake and the back end of the car runs very wide, but she's able to recover from that. So the Lawson mistake, in my opinion, came as a consequence of the pressure that had been mounted from Fabian Volvend, and it all started really on the exit of turn 16, the Variante Bassa, as they headed around the start-finish straight. So probably earlier than that, actually, turn 15 off the back end of the Ravazza turn. So Johnny gets out of shape there through the Trigado turn. That was enough for Fabian Volvend then, who was just neat and tidy and went through the inside and said thank you very much. Let's see it on board from the Johnny Lawson car then. Into the gravel, you can hear the gravel clattering through the car. And Nikki Kadai right in the middle of the picture there looks on, and the Octane 126. Look, I've never seen Christian Berchinger look so relaxed on a pit wall before. Head back, he knows that Fabian Volvend is doing a brilliant job, and just wonder whether the chase could be on now to Henry Hassid for the final 10.5 minutes. This is going to be very interesting indeed. Johnny Lawson for the moment looks comfortable in P3. Ahead of Manuela Gosner and Thomas Gosner. Some of the gravel then from the chicane that's been dragged out onto the tarmac, and von Skeltemar is battling there with Tadakazu Kojima. Johnny Lawson then, lucky he got back onto the track cleanly. Looking at the championship, he can afford a P3 finish, because a DNF would of course be devastating in terms of the points haul. Just look at the debris across the front of the 125 car of Tadakazu Kojima. Extraordinary. He's battling here with von Skeltemar. This is the battle that's going on for P6 in the race. So Kojima then, a Formula Racing driver, and von Skeltemar, a Kessel racer. So the live gap between the two of them is 0.3. So von Skeltemar, based in the Netherlands, of course, in the number 177 car, another one of the long-term campaigners in the Ferrari Challenge. Through the chicane. On the back end, stepping out in the Tadakazu Kojima car, but nicely held as they run downhill now and brake hard, turn in. A little blast of throttle between the two Ravazza turns. And head to put another lap in the book in P6 and P7. Meantime, Johnny Lawson has put himself into a comfortable position now in P3, having lost out P2. Manuela and Thomas Gosner were very, very close to him after he made that run through the gravel and the chicane, but for now, all looking pretty comfortable for Johnny Lawson in P3, although Fabian Volvend is trying very hard to chase down Henry Hassid. The Murat Kuadaroglu car is a back-marking car there in car number 133. Good awareness from Murat and keeping out of the way of the race leaders as they come through. So, real inter-family fight here between Manuela and Father Thomas then. In the race itself, it's the battle for P4, P5. Of course, Manuela is not the quickest of the ladies at the moment. That's with Fabienne Volvend, who is running in P2. And out goes the 125 car that we saw battling, of course, with von Skeltermar. Tadakazu Kojima is out. Hopefully we'll get a replay of finding out why Tadakazu Kojima is out of the race then. 7 minutes remaining. There's Johnny Lawson, Manuela Gosner and Thomas Gosner. And Fabian Volvend has taken a 10th out of the Henry Hassid margin, but with only 6 3/4 minutes left, it's just not enough. And Henry Hassid is not one of the drivers that tends to make a mistake, although there's gravel all over there now. Somebody ran through the gravel, whether that was Johnny Lawson, because Manuela Gosner is a lot closer to Johnny Lawson than she was, and of course it may have been as a result of the Kojima incident. Kojima, that's where he went off. But now Johnny Lawson is once again having to defend hard, because Manuela Gosner is beginning to fight now for this P3 position. It would put 2 ladies on the podium, of course, which again I think would be a first in the Ferrari Challenge. So Johnny Lawson then, a P3 or a P4 in terms of points haul would be reasonable. Not as good as a P2 or of course a race win, but in fairness, the Formula Racing team had to do a lot of work on that car to get it back out ready for racing. We've got the safety car out on track. And no notification of that on the timing screen at all, but the safety car is out. That can only be for the Tadakazu Kojima car, where that is, I assume. Now, the safety car is picked up with Vladimir Hladik. So, at last, we get safety car on the timing screen. Now, this, potentially, dependent upon how long the safety car is out for, this could really liven up the final couple of laps of this race. And it will only be a couple of laps. But it really rather depends on how long that safety car is out, because we've got under 5 minutes of the race remaining, and if we're going to have to recover the Tadakazu Kojima car, I really hope this doesn't finish under the safety car. And that would be a travesty, truthfully, because it has been an extraordinary race. There's von Skeltermar in 177 then. We still didn't really see how Tadakazu Kojima came to there is the car, and there is the recovery operation going on. So if they can hoist that car out of the way quickly, then we could go back to racing, though of course the safety car is in the wrong position at the moment. So Tadakazu then went round, connected with the barriers. So thanks for throwing in that replay. And here's some hyper slow-mo shots then of some of the action that went on. We've got 3 3/4 minutes left. You can see this going to 1 racing lap. So the car of Ingvar Mattsson we were looking at there, running in P18. There's the the Christian Kinch car, 128. So there is our race leader, Henry Hassid, P2, Fabian Volvend, P3, Johnny Lawson. So Henry Hassid weaving from side to side there as they made the run downhill, just to try and maintain the temperature in the tyres. And with only 3 minutes remaining, which behind the safety car is potentially this lap and one more, I would say. on board with Johnny Lawson, who comes past our commentary position as we speak. Now, that's interesting. That was the Vladimir Hladik car, which is where the safety car was, ahead of that car. So hopefully the cars will now be picked up by the safety car for the remainder of this lap. Will come in, and that will give us at least a racing lap before the end of the race. On board with Eric Chung, the Formula Racing driver, as he tries to catch up the crocodile that's snaking its way around the track now following the safety car intervention. The safety car intervention of which we had no notice of until we saw it actually on the screen for the Tadakazu Kajimi recovery to be got underway. So there's the Hublot safety car. The lights are still on, but I'm hoping that the safety car will come in at the conclusion of this lap. Indeed, it is going to come in at the end of this lap. And this could be very exciting, a finish to this race. Henry Hassid really needs to get this restart absolutely right. He will back everyone up and will be hoping that Fabian Volven, Johnny Lawson, etc. do not anticipate when Henry Hassid is going to give it an absolute footfall. Because Fabian definitely looked as quick at times, if not quicker, than Henry Hassid. But you've got to find a way past, and that isn't easy. So on board with the Eric Chung car then, as the cars are weaving from side to side. Ahead of Eric Chung is the Christoph Herney car. What a brilliant... Christoph Herney is P10 from the very back of the grid. Brilliant drive from Christoph Herney. Lights off in the safety car. So the safety car is coming in. It's down to Henry Hassid now to control this restart. We'll have one racing lap before the end of the race, and it could be one that's fraught with drama. So Hassid then around Ravazza 2, Ravazza 3, and gives it an absolute footfall. No overtaking before you've crossed the safety car line, of course. And let's go racing once again then. Henry Hassid leading from Fabian Volvend. It is the final lap as predicted. So can Fabian Volvend find something between now and the rest of this 4.9 kilometer circuit to wrestle away the lead from Henry Hassid and take the top step of the podium? P2 at the moment. P3 is Johnny Lawson. The cars all spread out. It's not quite as dramatic as I hoped it was going to be following the safety car, because the top 5 drivers have really broken away from von Skeltermar and Eric Prinot and Vladimir Hladik and Christoph Herney. Hassid, it looks like, has done enough. Fabian Volvend, P2. So Johnny Lawson there running in P3. There is Thomas Gostner, who's P5. We're on the final lap of this Coppa Shell race in the Ferrari Challenge. So a race punctuated by a safety car right at the very end of the race, which I thought would really drive home further drama, but actually has proven thus far not to be the case. So Henry Hassid goes through that very anti-alta chicane for the last time of asking. Heads under the bridge now and through turn 13 towards turn number 14, where he'll brake hard for Ravazza 1. And then the second part of Ravazza, and it's as we were then as the cars head towards the checkered flag. And it will be yet another win for Henry Hassid. This will be his 6th win in the Ferrari Challenge. He takes the checkered flag from Fabian Volvend. A really creditable drive from Fabian Volvend to take P2. Johnny Lawson is P3. And Manuela Gostner P4. Then it's Thomas Gostner and von Skeltermar and Christian Berchinger, who, as I say, I've never seen him look so relaxed on the... He looks a little bit more tense now, truthfully. Well, a good job done by Fabian Volvend. Oh, and just at the close of the race then, that's David Lim off in the gravel in the 168 car. Wow, what a race. race won by Henry Hasseed then, who, whilst at 1 or 2 points did look like he was being challenged, in the end, take a lot to get by him, I would suggest, and no one was able to do that despite best efforts of Fabian Volvend. This was where it went wrong for David Lim then, just as he turned in, found he'd run out of tarmac and ended up in the gravel. Good that the gravel stopped him where it did, otherwise he'd have been side on to everyone else coming through that chicane. Johnny Lawson then banks points, which is critical, of course, in the championship chase, but there is the race leader, race winner, Henry Hasseed. So they're making his way down towards the Ravazza. Here comes the challenge show. So just some of the images from in and around Imola as the 147 car makes its way to P1 in Parc Fermé once again. So Henry Hasseed out of the car. Another win for the Charles Pozzi team, and Fabian Volvend congratulated there by Christian Birchinger, the team principal of Octane 126. Very, very good drive. And Johnny Lawson then banking more critical points for the championship to take P3.
Good job, Johnny.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Good job for the...
And nice handshake between Henry Hasseed and Johnny Lawson. Both two very experienced racers. So Hasseed taking the win from Fabian Volvend, then Johnny Lawson, Manuela Gostner, Thomas Gostner, Fon Skeltermar, Eric Prinot, Vladimir Haladik, Christoph Herney, look, P9 from the back of the grid. Brilliant drive from Christoph Herney. And Christian Kinch taking P10. P11 went the way of Eric Chung, P12, Claudio Schiavone. Then it was Tommy Lindroth for P13. Lauren Demuse takes P14 ahead of Henrik Kamstrup, Tina Koch, Ingvar Madsen, David Lim, of course, we saw in the gravel, and Murat Kuhadaroglu had gone round, and so too had Tadakazu Kojima, and lost James Valand also earlier on in the race. So Johnny Lawson then being congratulated, and drivers will be ushered up towards the podium area. So podium is next on the schedule then. So conversations going on down beyond the paddock. There's Johnny Lawson then, who will take the third step of the podium. Fabian Volvend then Henry Hassid then, who's on the top step once again for the Charles Pozzi team. So baseball caps back on then, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes trophy presentations, and Mr. Antonello Coletta then making the trophy presentation first of all to Johnny Lawson, then to Fabienne Volvend, who of course will end up with 2 trophies because P2 in the race and best of the ladies as well. Charles Pozzi team receive another trophy to add to their... Henry Hassid, of course, double bubble as well because he gets a gentleman trophy. And Fabian then receiving another trophy. Look at that. What a great day she's had here at Imola. All get together for the photographs. Michele Mambrelli then, the man that's overseeing the presentations up there on the podium. And Fabian could be the quickest here with the champagne. Yo, go on then, Henry says, let's just... I got another race tomorrow. Fabian takes really rather too much. Oh, wonderful. Well, that was... that was good fun, wasn't it? Trofeo Pirelli Race 1 is at 13:35 GMT. Make sure you don't miss that. That's going to be very exciting as well. So the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Race 1 of the weekend done and dusted. Another race, of course, to come tomorrow. And here's some super slow-mo images then of the cars on track. And the top 3 in particular. P3 going the way of Johnny Lawson. P2, of course, going to Fabienne Volvend. And, of course, Fabienne Volvend also the winner of the Ladies' Cup. And the winner of the race, once again, it was Henry Hassid. For the Charles Pozzi team. So in the Drivers' Championship then, Johnny Lawson still leads with a comfortable margin. It's 159 points, plays 133. Then it's Eric Chung and 90 points, and Christoph Herney on 87 points. So Johnny Lawson then still with a healthy margin, but Henry Hassid has banked more points, but in only 3 races remaining. As long as Johnny Lawson just continues to bank the points for position finishes, then he should seal the Drivers' Championship. But one thing we know for sure is nothing is guaranteed in motor racing, and in particular in the Ferrari Challenge. Let's take a look at the highlights of Race 1. The sense of anticipation was great then as Joshua Katu looked on. Lights went green and the cars were away. Brilliant start from Manuela Gosner. And Henry Hassid led them from P1. Johnny Lawson in P2. Murat Kuhalaroglu was one of the first to find the gravel, and regrettably, car having to be towed out from there. Fabienne Volvend looked pretty lively for the entire race, and Nicky Kadai, one of the driver coaches, looking on. He coaches von Skeltermar, of course, as Claudio Schiavone managed to find his way past the and move himself up another place. So Fabienne Volvend pushed and pushed and pushed, and eventually Johnny Lawson did make the mistake that she was looking for, and that put her through into the P2 position. So for Octane 126 then, it was great news. A late safety car would bunch all the drivers up together, but in the end it was going to be Henry Hassid that would take the win from Fabian Volvend P2, Johnny Lawson P3. So another win for Henry Hassid and a brilliant P2 for Fabian Volvend, who of course also took the victory in the Ladies' Cup. Congratulations from Johnny Lawson to Henry Hassid, our race winner. The next race, Trofeo Pirelli at 13:35 GMT. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.